more
The
problems.
March 10th, 2022 meeting of the Woodbridge Township Board of Education will please come to order. Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Ms. Bourdain?
Here.
Mr. Della Pietro?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Ms. Perez?
Here.
Mr. Sedana?
Here.
Mr. Treebwasser?
Here.
And Mr. Velez?
Here. Mr. Secretary, as required by the Sunshine Law, please read the notice of meetings.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted as follows. On January 11th, 2022, and February 17th, 2022, emailed to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the Municipal Clerk's Office, posted in Ross Street School Number 11 and the Board of Education Administration Building, also published on the school district website.
Mr. Treebwasser, please read the closed session statement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to motion for the approval of the following closed session statement. In compliance with the Sunshine Law, the board must go into closed session in order to discuss subjects exempted from the public portion of our meeting. The discussion to be held in closed session will be regarding personnel matters. Any information regarding the closed session discussion will be released to the public when the reason for discussing these matters in closed session no longer exists.
Thank you, Mr. Treebwasser. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Treebwasser. I have a second by Ms. Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
With the respect to your son.
Please rise for the salute to the flag and a moment of silence. Do I have a motion to reconvene?
Motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Perez.
Second.
Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Treebwasser. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Ms. Bourdain?
Here.
Mr. Della Pietro?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Ms. Perez?
Here.
Mr. Sedana?
Here.
Mr. Treebwasser?
Here.
And Mr. Velez?
Here. Will someone make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting?
So motioned.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Treebwasser. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Della Pietro. Are there any additions or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Carried. Mr. Secretary, please state for the record any notices of bids received by the board.
Thank you, Mr. President. On March 3rd, 2022, we opened PSA project number 8107 IMS for locker room renovations at Island Middle School.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Dr. Massimino, please state for the record the superintendent's reports for the month of February 2022.
Mr. President, I present the following monthly reports. The student registers and fire drill report, suspension reports for elementary and secondary schools, bomb threat reports, and reports of the attendance officers.
Dr. Massimino, please introduce our student representative, Ashley Eisdorfer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ashley Eisdorfer is currently a senior at Colonia High School. Throughout her high school career, Ashley has chosen to challenge herself by taking several advanced placement, college level, and honors courses. As of today, Ashley maintains a 4.23 grade point average and ranks number 9 in a graduating class of 350 students. As Eleanor Roosevelt states, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Ashley knows exactly what she wants for her future, to be an actor, director, writer, and producer, while contributing positively to the lives of those around her. In the process of chasing this dream, Ashley will pursue a major in drama and/or film. Ashley has applied to several prestigious colleges, such as NYU, Yale, Harvard, Brown, Juilliard, Boston University, University of Pennsylvania, and the University of Southern California. In the next few weeks, a decision will be made, and Ashley's journey to fulfill her dream will continue. Along with an outstanding academic record, Ashley has been extremely active in all phases of high school life. She's been a valuable member of Colonia High School's Film Club, Student Council, Interact Club, Student Liaison, Youth and Empowerment Club, Show Choir, Student Advisory, International Thespian Society, National Honor Society, and Mu Alpha Theta Math Honor Society. In April, Ashley's acting and singing ability will be displayed on stage at Colonia High School. She will be portraying Morticia Addams in the spring musical, The Addams Family. Outside of the academic environment, Ashley created a PSA called We're in This Together for teen suicide prevention. Her film won first place in the Society for the Prevention of Teen Suicide PSA contest and was then selected to be in the Garden State Film Festival. Along with the Interact Club, Ashley led the successful creation, editing, and dissemination of a township-wide virtual talent show to help support local charities in our community. I would also like to announce that yesterday, Colonia High School was notified by the National Honor Society and NASSP that Ashley has been selected as one of this year's National Honor Society Scholarship semifinalists and will receive a scholarship award in the amount of $3,200. In closing, Ashley's parents have been a major catalyst in her success. Throughout the years, they have afforded Ashley the opportunity to develop her academic and creative talents. It is an honor to recognize the very compassionate Ashley Eisdorfer as an outstanding role model whose positivity and enthusiasm permeate the halls of Colonia High School each and every day. Ashley, we are proud of you, and you are forever a part of our Colonia High School and Woodbridge Township family. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Massimino, President Velez, and members of the Board of Education for inviting me here this evening. And now I will read. In school number 4/5, they celebrated Black History Month with student research projects, celebrated the 100th day of school by dressing up as 100-year-olds, celebrated 2/22/22 by wearing tutus, ties, and 2 different shoes, celebrated World Read Aloud Day and Read Across America Week. Second and third grade students and families participated in Family Math/Science. Eve Hugger was selected for our Martin Luther King Jr. essay contest. In school number 20, celebrated Black History Month with daily announcements, classroom research, and art projects. Kids Heart Challenge has begun featuring a 3rd grade poster contest and 4th and 5th essay contest. The NEHS and Student Council held a food drive with collected 537 pounds of food. Holidays around the world are displayed through our school hallways. Heidi Schmidt was selected for our Martin Luther King Jr. essay contest. In school number 21, they celebrated Black History Month with daily announcements, individual classroom activities, and a Hall of Heroes display. The Student Council led a school-wide Be Kind campaign. In physical education, students participated in Jump Rope for Heart. Students in band participated in the virtual winter concert. The school counselor taught lessons of empathy throughout the school, celebrated the 100th day of school by wearing school spirit gear and math-focused activities across the school. In school number 22, the NEHS and Student Council conducted both a food drive and an animal shelter donation drive. Our reading program concluded with over 250 students meeting a weekly goal during the 4-week-long initiative. 32 students were recognized for receiving positive referrals to the principal's office, celebrated Black History Month with daily announcements and classroom research projects, which produced posters for our Hall of Heroes. The hallway constructed project concluded finally connecting our 4 buildings. In school number 23, they honored 57 2 honor roll students with a special ceremony, celebrated Black History Month with special morning announcements, school-wide music from famous Black musicians, and a special visit from a local hero, celebrated World Read Aloud Day with special activities in our classrooms, held our grade 3 Winter Olympic Games, celebrated our 100th day of school with special math activities and dressed up as 100-year-olds, participated in random acts of kindness by spreading kindness and respect during the school day. Manith was awarded for composing the best Martin Luther King Jr. essay. In school number 27, 4th grade students and families participated in our Family Math program. 3rd grade students and families participated in our Family Science program. On February 11th, families participated in a PTO virtual family fun night. The Student Council participated in the Have a Heart food drive, celebrated African American History Month with 5th grade students making daily morning announcements, creating a Hall of Heroes, and classes participating in a school-wide scavenger hunt to learn about influential African Americans. celebrated 222 with ties, tutus, and tiaras theme day. Students also participated in the Too Kind Challenge, earning tickets for demonstrating kindness throughout the school day. As of 3/1, March 1st, students have read over 3,250 minutes outside of school for our Lions Reading Challenge. The week of February 28th, we celebrated Read Across America Week. During the months of January and February, we recognized 42 students for demonstrating exceptional characteristics of cooperation and being responsible. In Avenel Middle School, they had a virtual family literacy night, gave our families the opportunity to work and learn together. Virtual family book club buffet promoted our students' love of reading. The bowling team had a great experience, celebrated Black History Month with a virtual assembly by NFL Hall of Famer James Lofton, and a visit from Gary White and Kelly Atkinson, representing the Montford Point Marion Association. 8th grade Vanessa Benson and Joshua Parks were selected as panelists for the Middlesex County Youth Bias Task Force Roundtable. The Student Council coordinated the Have a Heart food drive. Mayor McCormick and his team visited AMS to acknowledge our students. Daniel Harris visited a language arts class to discuss his role as a Board of Education member. The National Junior Honor Society and Community Service Club collected supplies and donations for charitable organizations, culminating in our Day of Giving celebration. The Sidekicks Mentoring Program visited elementary schools, and the Colonia High School Heroes and Cool Kids visited our 6th grade students, held our parent performance by the Performing Arts Club, and we looked forward to the upcoming Family STEM Night. Teacher Maria Enan was selected as a New Jersey example educator by the New Jersey Department of Education. And in Colonia High School, during lunches, presentations were made outside the cafeterias to showcase the engineering program and to introduce underclassmen to engineering. Congratulations to Drummel Patel, Science Research 4, for his acceptance as a top 10. Drummel will present his paper at the symposium and compete for the chance to advance to the National JSHS in April. Interact Club students hosted 2 hand-in-hand events. Interact Club students hosted a movie night with the Student Council, with the proceeds giving gift cards to a CHS family in need. A clinical instructor from Harvard Law visited with students and providing information on non-discriminatory access to HIV, gender-affirming, and sexual reproductive health care. On 2/22/22, Tutu Tuesday, Mu Alpha Theta hosted a bake sale. Mu Alpha Theta continues to provide virtual peer tutoring for the 2nd semester. The Mathletes Math Olympiad competed in the Central Jersey Math League. The Snow Shredders had their first trip on January 28th. CHS Rho Kappa History Honor Society is going to Washington, D.C. on March 1st to 2nd. The total amount of money raised February for the CHS Minithon is $2,834. Celebrated Black History Month by creating a periodic table of notable Black Americans, highlighting individuals in science, authors, politics, music, film, and TV, entrepreneurs, famous verse, and athletes. Students in our English classes conducted research projects to learn more about the impact African Americans have made to the U.S. Ms. Davidson, Mr. Rodriguez, and Ms. Shetty, along with student members of the Central Jersey Consortium for Excellence and Equity, facilitated the Day of Dialogue on 2/23. Student moderators were provided training by Middlesex County College and were able to take that training and turkey it to 100 CHS students and 10 Ford Middle School. Thank you all for this opportunity for me to be a part of this evening's Board of Education meeting.
Very, very impressive. Thank you, Ashley, for your detailed report. Tonight, you're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting, but if you're unable to stay, we won't be offended. Okay?
I'm unable to stay because I have a lot of homework to do, but thank you so much.
We understand completely. The Woodbridge Township Board of Education welcomes and encourages active, productive, and respectful participation by members of the public and seeks to protect the First Amendment rights of those who engage in the exercise of free speech at this Board of Education meeting. Members of the public are requested to express themselves in a civil manner, with due respect for the dignity and privacy of those whose legal rights may be impacted. The public is now invited to speak regarding the agendas being presented this evening. When you come to the microphone, please provide your name and the section of the township which you reside, along with the specific agenda and item number you wish to discuss. As per Regulation 1100D, comments must be limited to no more than 5 minutes. No response will be given until you have completed your opportunity to speak. Dr. Massimino, do you have any recommendations?
Mr. President, I have 20 items to present to the board.
Do I have a motion for the superintendent's agenda?
So motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Treebosser, a second by Mr. Delapietro. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bourdain?
Yes.
Mr. Delapietro?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Mr. President, I abstain on item number 20, yes to all other items.
Mr. Sedana?
Yes.
Mr. Treebosser?
Yes.
Mr. Velez?
Yes. Policy and Planning Agenda, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Policy and Planning Committee, on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, presents the following 6 items. I move for the adoption of the foregoing.
I have a motion by Mr. Harris. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Harris, second by Ms. Anderson. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bourdain?
Yes.
Mr. Delapietro?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Sedana?
Yes.
Mr. Treebosser?
Yes.
Mr. Velez?
Yes. Curriculum Agenda, Mr. Treebosser.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Curriculum Committee, on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, presents the following 3 items. I move for the adoption of the foregoing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Treebosser, second by Mr. Sedana. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bourdain?
Yes.
Mr. Delapietro?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Sedana?
Yes.
Mr. Treebosser?
Yes.
Mr. Velez?
Yes. Finance and Insurance Agenda, Mr. Treebosser.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance and Insurance Committee, on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Business Administrative Board Secretary, presents the following 16 items. I move for the adoption of the foregoing.
I have a motion, Mr. Treebosser. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Delapietro. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Mr. Velez?
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Harris.
I want to highlight number 8 for everybody. It's budget season. Today, the numbers came out from the state of New Jersey. Our state aid numbers are remarkably robust. It's part of a ramp-up of school aid funding to underfunded school districts. Fortunately, Woodbridge has long been in that position. We are set to receive a proposed $83 million in state aid. That is our income tax dollars coming back to Woodbridge Township, thankfully. That's a $20.3 million increase over last year. So it's remarkably fortunate for us and our budget and our students. I want to highlight number 8. Specifically, it's the budget season. I had said there's an open public meeting, which we have annually, for the superintendent of schools to present the proposed budget that we as a board will be reviewing between now and April 28th. That public hearing, that open public hearing, is here April 28th at 6 p.m. here at Ross Street School number 11. And then finally, for final budget adoption the following week on May the 5th at 6 p.m. right here at Ross Street School 11. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. That's great news.
Yes.
Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bourdain?
Yes.
Mr. Delapietro?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Sedana?
Yes.
Mr. Treebosser?
Yes.
Mr. Velez?
Yes. Security and School Safety Agenda, Mr. Delapietro.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Security and School Safety Committee, on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, presents the following 1 item. I move for the adoption of the foregoing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Delapietro. I have a second by Mr. Treebosser. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bourdain?
Yes.
Mr. Delapietro?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Sedana?
Yes.
Mr. Treebosser?
Yes.
Mr. Velez?
Yes. Athletics and Extracurriculum Agenda, Mr. Treebosser.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Athletics and Extracurricular Committee, on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, presents the following two items. I move for the adoption of the foregoing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, Mr. Treebosser, second by Ms. Perez. Any comments or questions from the board? Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bourdain?
Yes.
Mr. Delapietro?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Sedana?
Yes.
Mr. Treebwasser?
Yes.
Mr. Velez?
Yes. Buildings and Grounds Agenda, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Buildings and Grounds Committee, on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and Business Administrator, present the following three items. I move for the adoption of the foregoing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Treebosser. Any comments or questions from the board? Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bourdain?
Yes.
Mr. Delapietro?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Sedana?
Yes.
Mr. Treebwasser?
Yes.
Mr. Velez?
Yes. Transportation Agenda, Mr. Delapietro.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Transportation Committee, on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Business Administrator Board Secretary, presents the following three items. I move for the adoption of the foregoing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Delapietro. I have a second by Ms. Bourdain. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bourdain?
Yes.
Mr. Delapietro?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Sedana?
Yes.
Mr. Treebwasser?
Yes.
Mr. Velez?
Yes. Personnel Agenda, Mr. Treebosser.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Personnel Committee, on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, presents the following 27 items. I move for the adoption of the foregoing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Treebosser, second by Mr. Delapietro. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bourdain?
Yes.
Mr. Delapietro?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Sedana?
Yes.
Mr. Treebwasser?
Yes.
Mr. Velez?
Yes. Mr. Bush, do we have any recommendations?
Nothing at this time, sir.
Is there any old business that the board, that should be brought to the attention of the board?
Mr. Velez?
Mr. Harris.
One item on the Finance and Insurance agenda I meant to recognize, item number 15. Last month, it was discussed about the sale of our solar renewable energy credits that we generate from the rooftop solar installations. Those credits that were generated over the past year were sold, and the district has turned a profit of $787,878. So that was questioned last meeting. I want to just recognize item number 15 to demonstrate the success of the solar energy renewable credits. Thank you, Mr. Velez.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Is there any new business that should be brought to the attention of the board? We will now open the meeting for public comment. If you wish to say something, please come to the microphone, provide your name and the section of the township in which you reside. Again, members of the public are requested to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of those legal rights whose may be impacted. Please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes in accordance with Regulation 1100D. No response will be given until you have fully completed your comments, so as not to interrupt your 5-minute opportunity to speak.
Hi, my name is Vikrant Gaikwad. I am from Islin. I'm here to talk about the recently concluded Health for Humanity Yogathon 2022. Yoga is an ancient practice rooted in Indian philosophy. It has become popular in the United States as a way of promoting physical and mental well-being. Yoga emphasizes physical postures like asanas, breathing technique like pranayama, meditation, and so forth. There are many different yoga styles ranging from gentle practices to physical demanding ones. Hindu Sangha HSS USA first launched the Health for Humanity Yogathon in 2007 to create awareness about yoga and its advantages in fostering a healthy body, mind, and spirit for any practitioners regardless of age, faith, gender, or ethnicity. Health for Humanity Yogathon has received numerous proclamations from mayors of various cities, governors of various states, US congressmen, US senators, and it has been also recognized as part of the congressional records of 2017. In 2022, Governor Phil Murphy for New Jersey has recommended HSS and has supported the annual Surya Namaskar Yajna or the Health for Humanity Yogathon. This is the 15th year for Health for Humanity Yogathon. This year, with HSS along with SSF Woodbridge chapter collaborated with the Woodbridge Township School District to host the Yogathon for 3 yoga events, each for 1 hour. These workshops were open for everyone in the community to join. These were conducted on 19th of February at Colonia Middle School, 26th of February in Islin Middle School, and 5th of March in Woodbridge High School. Overall, we had around 230 people registered for this event, and around 150 people attended this yogathons across the 3 events. I thank the Board of Education, Dr. Massimino, Mr. Candarelli, for collaborating with us and bringing yoga to our school district. I would like to thank the principals and the staff who helped us in this, in executing this successful event. We look forward to continuing collaboration with the school district. Thank you very much for all the support you have given so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, James Dabrowski, Woodbridge proper. On February 23rd, the Perth Amboy Area Branch NAACP released the following joint statement. We, the undersigned organizations, unequivocally denounce the Proud Boys and condemn their hateful public comments made at the December 14th Woodbridge Township, New Jersey Council meeting. We call for the elected and appointed officials of Woodbridge Township to join us in standing against this designated terrorist hate group. While it was encouraging to learn that 2 members of the Woodbridge Human Rights Commission had the conscience and courage to publicly denounce the Proud Boys on the record at their February 7th HRC meeting, it was discouraging to learn that the Proud Boys showed up in even larger numbers to the February 15th Woodbridge Council meeting, and that they were yet again welcomed by certain residents in attendance. One self-identified member of the Proud Boys again spoke anonymously during public comments, wearing a Proud Boys POW J6 2021 You Are Not Forgotten shirt, disgracefully comparing those rightfully arrested for the deadly January 6th Capitol insurrection to our nation's military prisoners of war missing in action. As expressed by the chair of the Woodbridge Human Rights Commission, the Proud Boys' involvement in the January 6th insurrection alone should be enough to denounce them. Combined with the fact that the Proud Boys have been designated a hate group by both the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League, and also classified as a terrorist entity by the Canadian government, a refusal by community leaders to denounce them would be immoral, irresponsible, and inexcusable. And as the students of the Woodbridge Township School District recite in their anti-racism pledge, I pledge to honor and embrace diversity and to stand against racism wherever it appears. Our elected and appointed officials must be held to the same standard that we hold our children and stand against this hateful attack on Woodbridge. We call on Woodbridge leaders to follow the example of other communities targeted by the Proud Boys, such as Rockville Center, New York, and the Orange County Schools District, North Carolina, that had the conscience and courage to denounce this defined terrorist hate group and make it clear that they are not welcome, that hate has no home in Woodbridge Township. Sincerely, NAACP Perth Amboy Area Branch, Woodbridge Youth for Liberation and Equity, Positive Change Woodbridge, NAACP Rahway Branch, Southern Burlington County NJ NAACP, NAACP New Brunswick Area Branch, NAACP Metuchen Edison Area Branch, Metuchen Youth for Equity and Racial Justice, Black Community Watch Line, NJ21 United. We received the following response on February 25th from Senator Joe Vitale's office. Hi, I hope you are well. Thank you, and please thank the other organizations that signed on to this letter. I had no idea that Proud Boys had been to Woodbridge Council meetings, and I since heard they also went to BOE meetings. No, we have been buried by such a high volume of constituents who need help with unemployment claims and other state government programs. I am sorry that this is the first time I heard about what happened. When I read your email, I immediately watched the videos from the meetings and I couldn't believe my eyes. Terrifying. I spoke with Senator Vitale, Speaker Coughlin, and Assemblywoman Lopez, and they issued a statement yesterday. Please see their statement copied below. Please keep me posted if anything else happens. Thank you. News from the 19th Legislative District, for release, February 24th, 2022. Vitale, Coughlin, and Lopez joint statement denouncing local presence of extremist hate group, Woodbridge. Senator Joseph F. Vitale, Speaker Craig Coughlin, and Assemblywoman Yvonne Lopez issued the following joint statement regarding the presence of members of the Proud Boys attending Woodbridge Township Council meetings. We denounce groups that spread hate and seek to divide us. Extremist groups like the Proud Boys will not find support from us or from our community. We released another statement on February 28th. The Perth Amboy Area Branch NAACP would like to acknowledge Senator Joe Vitale, Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin, and Assemblywoman Yvonne Lopez for issuing a joint statement denouncing the terrifying presence of the Proud Boys in Woodbridge Township. It is reassuring to know that when local officials fail to stand up against hatred, we can count on our state leaders to set the example. As reported on February 23rd by the Woodbridge Patch News, for months now, some Woodbridge residents, including members of the NAACP, have been calling on Woodbridge Mayor John McCormick and other township officials to denounce the Proud Boys. So far, McCormick has refused and appears to ignore their requests. The article continues. In response to the NAACP's request this week, McCormick said in a statement given through a spokesman, "The Township of Woodbridge denounces hatred in all forms and in all venues. It goes without saying that hate has no place in Woodbridge." It is very disappointing that it took a joint statement from civil rights organizations in order to get a response, which was only given through a spokesperson to the media rather than replying to the email sent from the Perth Amboy Area Branch NAACP. Woodbridge Township officials' repeated refusal to denounce the Proud Boys is unacceptable. Silence is complicity, and we must never remain silent when a defined terrorist hate group targets our community, or any community. Moving forward, we sincerely hope that Woodbridge Township elected and appointed officials will begin meeting with the Perth Amboy Area Branch NAACP, as there is clearly much work to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dombrowski. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So motion.
Motion by Mr. Treebosser, second by Mr. Delapietro. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried.